July 19, 2024, 0409 UTC. CrowdStrike ships a content update, not a program, a configuration file of the kind that goes out several times a day. Within the hour, airports, hospitals, banks, and emergency call centers are all looking at the same blue screen. Microsoft would estimate 8.5 million Windows machines. It was not a cyberattack, it was not a software update, and the file that did it had passed every check the company had. To understand how a configuration file can kill an operating system, you need to know where this software sits. CrowdStrike Falcon is not an app. Part of it is a driver loaded in the earliest phase of Windows boot. It runs in kernel mode, the same privilege level as Windows itself. That is the entire point. It has to see attacks that start before you do. But down there is no sandbox and no error dialog. Code that fails in the kernel does not crash a program, it crashes the computer. Now, CrowdStrike ships two very different things down two very different pipes. The sensor is code and it moves like code. Internal testing, early adopters, then everyone, customers can even choose to stay a version or two behind. The other pipe carries content, detection patterns updated several times a day as new attacks are found. That pipe had no early adopters, no staged rollout, and no way for a customer to say not yet. They had built a careful release process, then built a second channel that went around it. February 28th, Sensor 7.11 ships with a new template for watching named pipes, a normal way Windows programs talk to each other and a favorite hiding place for attackers. March 5th, the template passes a stress test in staging, and the first live rule using it goes out the same day. 3 more follow in April. Every one of them works exactly as intended. Here's the part nobody knew. That template was described in 2 different places. A definitions file up in the cloud said it takes 21 inputs. The sensor code down on the machine built 20. One of those 2 descriptions was wrong, and nothing in the build ever compared them to each other. And the tool engineers used to write new rules read the definitions file. So did the validator that checked their work. Both were asking, does this rule match the specification? Neither could ask, does the specification match the code? So why did it take 4 months to go off? Because of what everyone had been putting in that 21st field. A wildcard, match anything. Match anything is a question you can answer without looking. So the sensor never went to fetch input 21 and never found out that input 21 was not there. There were 12 automated tests, every single one put a wildcard in that field. The testing was thorough, it was thorough in the wrong dimension. July 19th, 2 new rules go out in channel file 291. One of them asks a specific question about the 21st field. And to answer a specific question, the sensor has to go and look. It walks to the array of inputs and asks for number 21. There are 20, past the end of them is whatever happened to be sitting in memory next. The code checks whether that value is empty. It is not empty, so it reads through it. Page fault in non-paged area, bug check 50. Windows' own description of that error contains the sentence, "This cannot be protected by try except." There is no catching it. What stops is not the sensor, it is the machine. And the file goes to everybody at once. Every Windows host that was switched on between 0409 and 0527 and asked for the update got it. In the United States alone, over 3,000 flights canceled, nearly 12,000 delayed, surgeries called off, emergency call centers degraded. A quarter of the Fortune 500 was hit, every airline in it. Now comes the thing that turned 78 minutes into a week. The driver loads early in boot, it reads the file, it crashes, the machine restarts and does it again. You cannot send a fix to a computer that will not stay awake long enough to receive one. The instructions published that morning were, reboot and hope it reaches the network first. If it crashes again, boot into safe mode, open a folder and delete one file by hand. On every machine, one at a time, in airports, in hospitals, in server rooms. And if the disk was encrypted, you needed the recovery key before you could even see the folder. 0527 UTC, the file is pulled. 78 minutes of exposure, 10 days until roughly 99% of sensors were back online. One more thing, because it says something about how failures get explained. Within hours, people pulling the file apart found it full of zeros, and the theory went round the world that an empty file had been shipped. It hadn't. Windows fills a file with zeros before writing it so that a crash halfway through leaves nothing rather than something half true. The zeros were not the cause, they were the fingerprint of the crash. On day one, the whole world had the evidence backwards. It is tempting to finish with somebody being careless. Nobody was. Their own report gives 3 reasons those rules were shipped that morning. The template had been stress tested, the validator had approved it, and 4 rules just like it were already out there working. 3 good reasons to feel safe, all 3 of them downstream of the same undetected mistake. The findings read like a list of things that were nearly right. A field count never checked when the sensor was compiled, an array read with no bounds check on it. 12 tests that all avoided the one field that mattered, a validator measuring against the wrong specification. And a delivery channel with no canary, built by a company that already knew exactly how to run one. So the lesson is not test your code, they tested it. It is that a test can only fail if it asks the question. Every test they ran asked, does this work? None of them asked, is the thing we are testing against correct? Every system you depend on has a document that describes it and code that implements it. Somebody has to check those 2 against each other. Usually, nobody is asked to. Every fact in this episode comes from CrowdStrike's own post-incident review and root cause analysis, Microsoft's kernel analysis, and testimony given to the United States Congress.